Hello, good evening. I'm Earl Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And with me this evening for the first time on the program is none other than Mr. Jeff Berger. Mr. Jeff Berger has his own publication, online newsletter called Everything St. Maarten, right?
It's part of the website is Everything St. Maarten, and the newsletter is St. Maarten Weekly News.
All right, good. So it's good to have you in the program this
Thank
evening.
you. Great to be here.
And you have this publication, but you've been coming to St. Maarten for a very long time.
Yes, 1978 was the first year.
A lot has changed since then, right?
Yes, yes. It's really interesting because, you know, when we first came here, my wife and I came here and went to the Mullet Bay Beach Resort. And, you know, we enjoyed that visit tremendously. It was a convention that we came to for New England Life, which is the company I was working for at the time. Very impressed by everything on the island. We went to the old Caravanserai restaurant. That's where the current development or the prior development got its name. The Caravanserai was an upscale, beautiful upscale restaurant with fantastic food. And our first impressions of the island were Mullet Bay Beach Resort, which was incredibly well organized. I know Ted Allen was the chief guy there.
He's back here now.
Yeah, I know he is, and I hope to see him sometime during this trip as well. But it was an incredibly well-run operation. The restaurants were top-notch. The conference facilities were outstanding. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the food at the restaurants we went to. And my wife and I decided the last day of our trip, we said, we've got to come back here and just spend some time on the island. And we did, and we've been coming back ever since.
When you first came here, we had very few restaurants.
Yes.
Compared to what we have now.
Yeah.
And Mullet Bay had some excellent restaurants. How have you seen the island change in terms of French, Dutch St. Maarten, and dining?
It's really interesting because, you know, there were restaurants like the Frigate. There was a place called Sweet Tooth, which had, if I remember correctly, both candy and ice cream. And it was really just, you know, a great experience. We went to a place in Marigot at the time. I believe the name of it might have been a few years later, was La Calanque.
That was my favorite restaurant.
It was a wonderful restaurant right on the corner.
Right.
Just a great restaurant. I frankly wish it was still there. But, you know, I think the restaurant has developed the island has developed in you know, in tremendous ways. It has a lot more to offer now. You know, the negative, of course, is that there's more traffic, but you deal with that to get to the good things. The beaches are as phenomenal as they ever were. The restaurants are outstanding. There is more innovation in the restaurants today than there has ever been, I think. They're just, it's tremendous. And, you know, there are bargains on Front Street that are unmatchable.
Are we still considered the restaurant capital of the Caribbean?
As far as I'm concerned, you are.
Yeah.
And I do St. Maarten Weekly News every week. We rarely take a week off. If we do, it's usually during the summer when things are fairly quiet. But St. Maarten Weekly News always features a restaurant of the week, and we talk about restaurants. I talk about restaurants that I've been to that I enjoy. It's interesting because when I go to those restaurants and people see me there, they said, "We didn't know you actually dined here." You know, they thought that I was paid or something, and I'm not. But I love the restaurants here, and I love the people.
You're originally from Boston?
Originally from Providence, Rhode Island,
okay.
And just a few miles down the road from the New England Patriots, who are hopefully going to do something in another week or so.
Yeah, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So when you look at your publication online newsletter today, any idea you'll be doing what you're doing now?
Not at all. My St. Maarten Weekly News and the Everything St. Maarten website were both total accidents. It's not something I ever expected to happen. I'm a PR guy. I do public relations, marketing communications, and PR. And when my website was first launched, I wanted to put an eclectic collection of writing samples on it. And what I chose to do was to put a short story I had written about St. Maarten. And I, at the time, was doing a lot of work for Digital Equipment, the computer company. And they had acquired a company called Alta Vista, which was a private internal search engine. And what they did is they told me that, hey, we're going to go public with this. Why don't you put your website in it? We'll show you how to go around the back end, you know, so you can get into it. And, you know, you'll be in good shape when the search engine launches. I did that, and for a while, when somebody clicked in St. Maarten, they found me, you know, if it's St. Maarten restaurants, St. Maarten hotels, St. Maarten anything, I was the, you know, the #1 guy. and the #1 site. And so that was surprising. And then I started getting telephone calls from folks here on the island. And they were saying people were visiting my St. Maarten website and recommending their places, and they said, thank you. And I said, wait a minute, I don't have a St. Maarten website. All I have is a writing sample on my PR company's page. And they said, well, maybe you should build one because it's working. And that's where this whole thing started. It was a total accident.
Wow. And you also have JMB Communications?
Yes, JMB Communications is the company I was doing the writing sample about St. Maarten for. And that's the company that does PR marketing, and it's essentially a marketing company.
Okay. Now that you're involved in St. Maarten for all these years, what surprised you the most every time you come back?
I think the fact that it's not more crowded.
Really?
You know, St. Maarten has a tremendous amount to offer. It has infrastructure that is vastly improved over the last few years thanks to the causeway. But you know, it seems to me that it has the potential. Now, I'm happy. I'm not complaining that it's not more crowded. I'm happy about that, just from a personal and selfish perspective. But you know, I think if the word gets out about St. Maarten, it could be a lot busier. And I do understand that there are some people that want more hotels and want more promotion. But obviously, you need the infrastructure to be able to support that if you do it. But I think the potential is there to certainly do that.
But do you think that the causeway was
I think the causeway was a phenomenal benefit.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't totally solve the traffic problem,
yeah.
but it's been a marvelous addition, and it certainly helps a great deal, helps the traffic a great deal. It helps people get from the airport to the French side a lot faster without going through the lowlands.
Yeah.
So I think it helps everybody.
You have millions of people that visit your site.
Yes, we just surpassed 4 million a few weeks ago, and you know, it's beyond my expectations.
Most of your visitors come from North America?
Most of my visitors, there are some from South America, there are some from all over the world, but the vast majority of them are from the U.S., with a smaller number from Canada, still, you know, quite a few thousand from Canada. Visitors as far away as Japan, China, certainly all over Europe, some countries in South America, other countries in Asia, but they're around the world.
You really keep up to date on St. Maarten. I noticed your weekly publication,
yes.
You're really up to date.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I come from a background as a journalist. I was trained as a journalist in college. My first job was with the Providence Journal, which is a fine newspaper in Providence, Rhode Island. I went to work for WPRO, AM, FM, and TV as an on-the-air radio and doing on-the-air radio and TV news, and doing some actualities. So here's a term that people out in the audience will hear and not know what it is. Actualities are if somebody, for example, if Oral Gibbs is down at the Marigot waterfront, now we turn to Oral Gibbs.
Yeah.
That video is an actuality. So I did a lot of those. You know, I learned my way around asking questions. When I first went to cover a large fire in a neighboring town in Massachusetts, I was asked, asked what first came to my mind. And the question was to the chief, of the fire chief, what was the first thing that you did when you came here? And his answer was, and I will never forget it, we proceeded to put out the fire. And then I realized that was a really stupid question. And what I should have asked is, tell me what kind of a situation you encountered when you got here, and how you dealt with it, you know, to get some kind of a real answer. And you never ask yes or no questions as a journalist either. And some of the things you learn.
Well, you're all supposed to know the answer to your question, or else you're in the problem.
You should be like a lawyer, so you know the answers exactly.
So you're impressed with that?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. You know, I have not been to a lot of ports. We're not really people that go on a lot of cruises.
Yeah.
But the port I thought was you know, extremely impressive.
I'm really sometimes impressed myself when I visit other Caribbean islands and see what we have here. It's really, really, it's beautiful.
It's outstanding.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Now, we have a big problem on the island when it comes to timeshare. And over the years, St. Maarten has become mainly a timeshare island. There are letters in your weekly publication also about St. Maarten. Now we have the caravanserai problem.
Yes.
What are your take on all of it?
We used to do a publication called St. Maarten Timeshare Owners Email Forum. And what we did is provide a mechanism that enabled timeshare owners to vent. And it became such an overwhelming thing because of everything that's been going on in the timeshare business that we either had to charge for it or blend it in with St. Maarten Weekly News, which is where it really belonged in the first place. So we merged the two. And there are 3 sections to St. Maarten Weekly News. The first one is about how to get here and the weather. The second is about accommodations, which covers timesharing more than any other single topic. And the third section is everything else. And the second section has been getting a lot of attention lately just because of what's going on at Caravanserai. I also set up on Facebook a page called facebook.com/Caravanserai Timeshare to enable timeshare owners to get together and talk about what's happening. I've received a tremendous amount of feedback from Caravanserai timeshare owners and from other timeshare owners. And I said, thank you, and I published it, and I've talked about opinions about it. And what I've suggested people do is write to the newspapers here, because writing to me gets the information to other timeshare owners and to fans of St. Maarten all across North America and around the world. But it doesn't get the information to a lot of people in St. Maarten. I have a fair number of readers here as well, but you don't get it done as effectively as you do through the newspapers here. And so what I suggested is that people write to the newspapers, and I know a lot of people have been doing that. And you know, the Caravanserai situation is a huge problem from a lot of perspectives.
I've read some of the letters,
Yeah.
and I really feel their pain and frustration.
Yeah.
But sometimes, as a St. Maartener, lived there most of my life, and went to school in the United States. You know, this island, the people of St. Maarten really love Americans. Americans were the first people that really come here in masses in tourism, and they admire them and respect them for that. And I read one letter where the person was very angry and was angry with all of us in St. Maarten. And I felt a little offended by that because I think that the people of St. Maarten are good people and they love Americans. And this problem is caused by a very greedy investor. And I think what needs to be done in the future is legislation to protect timeshare owners.
Totally. There's no question about that. And it's interesting because at one point I said to my audience, to the newsletter readers, and again, this is more than 224,000 people, I said to them, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, this is a situation where you're angry at some people in one resort, but the solution to that is to talk, to bring this into the open, to help the island develop timeshare owner consumer protection with teeth, you know, something that's really powerful. And not just, you know, walk away, because then you're hurting the third parties, the business owners, the restaurants, you know, all the people who are innocent in this. And the reaction I got to that surprised me, and it was kind of a stunning reaction. And that reaction was they have almost been complicit. That this is the attitude. I'm a messenger here. Don't shoot the messenger. But their attitude was, they've been complicit because they haven't gotten up and said, hey, you know, you're not taking care of timeshare owners to the government. Right. You're not taking care of timeshare owners, and you have to do this to prevent there from being what turned out to be a Caravanserai debacle. And you know, so they put their arms around all the business owners and say, you know, you're part of the problem. On the other hand, they also say, you know, I'm not coming back, and I'm going to miss all of my friends at these places. And I think, you know, there's on a different level, they certainly recognize the fact that the people here are great, which I certainly agree with. You know, we've been coming here for a long time. We've seen people grow up, get married, and kids grow up, get married, and have their own kids. And you know, we love that. But I think on another level, those people definitely recognize the fact that they do have friends here, and they're going to miss them by not coming back. So you know, I think they're losing a lot, but they don't want to come back and support an island that they think doesn't support them.
Yeah, and I think I can see why they feel like that, and government will have to act soon. You know, things happen here very slowly. I know. And that's the unfortunate part of it. But there needs to be some form of protection for these timeshare owners who invest thousands of dollars.
There have been situations where investors have put, in one case I got a letter from someone that had spent money on a penthouse at Caravanserai, and their total expenditure was $68,000, and that's gone.
Wow.
And you know, there are others, there are many others. I'm told there are 2,300 timeshare owners representing somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 weeks. And they have lost, in aggregate, I'm sure, millions of dollars. I don't know what the exact figure is, but it has to be in the millions, easily in the millions. No, and you know, yeah. So it's a huge problem. And you know what I would like to see, number one, is timeshare owner consumer protection with teeth that has strong controls over the industry. You want the industry to profit, but you also want the people to be protected so you don't wind up with another debacle. That's number one. And number two, you want to make sure that the people who were victimized by this situation are somehow made whole. I know the St. Maarten Timeshare Association, to its credit, has already taken some action to try to enable these people to move to other resorts. The issue with that is that there is no availability during the winter weeks when most people come. It's off-season weeks. So there still needs to be, I would hope there would be some kind of action by the government or some kind of mediation with the developer at Allegria to try to mitigate this and bring some kind of closure for the timeshare owners and help them at least not suffer the magnitude of the loss they've already suffered.
Well, I hope that the St. Maarten Timeshare Association and government, all different parties, can come together and really start to work on legislation that will be in the interest of all. Because sometimes we look at just the investor, but if you're a timeshare owner and you want to buy timeshares in St. Maarten, there's certain things sometimes they will have to realize.
Yeah, you absolutely need to have, they need to have confidence in the product, they need to have confidence in the government, and they certainly need to believe that that product is going to be protected in some way. So that if somehow there is a bankruptcy or there is a takeover, their whole life savings isn't going to disappear. There also needs to be some kind of mechanism to make sure that when there is a takeover, there is proper notification. For example, a FedEx package requiring a signature goes to people who are outside of St. Maarten. In this case, what was sent was an email that went to some people in dribs and drabs over, I believe it was over a couple of weeks, and it never got to many of the people. So I'm sure there have to be some people that have come down here and didn't know anything about this takeover. You know, I saw one timeshare owner, I saw in the paper one timeshare owner was evicted from their property, and I don't even know what the circumstances of that were. But you don't want things like that happening. You know, they're bad for that person, they're bad for the island when the word gets out about what happened, and it just, it certainly is not good for the island at all.
And I look back to 1995 after Hurricane Lois, and most of the people that returned for the first time were timeshare owners.
Exactly.
So we have to acknowledge that and also protect them.
And I came here in January of '96, which was only a few months after. There was still a fair amount of debris on the island. I remember walking on Orient Beach and seeing a lot of the siding material that had been used in the chalets on Orient Beach on the beach or in the water still. You know, a few months later. That was obviously a terrible hurricane. But I know that, you know, one thing that's good is that the cleanup after Hurricane Gonzalo was quite fantastic and quite quick. And, you know, I think the island faces a similar challenge, and it needs to clean up what happened with Caravanserai and solve that problem as well. And it needs to do that fairly quickly before this thing gets out of control.
And you gave away prizes.
Yes, we did. It's interesting, you know, somehow I got into the habit of giving things away on everythingstmaarten.com. And you definitely hit the nail on the head when you said that. I have to give you a little bit of history of this very briefly. Several years ago, we were about to hit 100,000 visitors. We were somewhere near, I think, 50,000 visitors. Actually, we were at 105,000 visitors, and we decided to give away gifts when we hit 200,000. And so I figured, all right, this is going to be a few months, and we'll see what happens. And so I gave the word out. I put it in my St. Maarten Weekly News, and I said, as soon as we hit 200,000, we're going to give away a one-week vacation, excuse me. And the next morning I went to the computer and looked at the hit counter. And what it said is that I had had 119,000 hits the previous day. And, you know, that was when I learned that you don't tell people a number, because a lot of people, thousands of people, are going to sit at their computers and keep trying to reset the hit counter. So I gave away the week, but the person who advertised it didn't really have much of a thing. So have much of a promotional benefit. And so what we did this time is, at the beginning of the year, what we said was, at the end of this year, when we reach 4 million site visits, which I assumed would be at the end of the year, and that's the way it turned out, we will give away 9 vacations, and we had those vacations that were donated to us. And we will do it again. Right now we're planning to give away at least 1 vacation in July. We will do our 1000th edition of St. Maarten Weekly News. Wow. And when that happens, we're going to give away at least 1 week, and I'm sure several dinners. So anyone who's watching who would like to win a week on St. Maarten, we know you, many of you, most of you live here. That's fine. You can still win a vacation. There's nothing that says that you can't. What I would do is urge you to go to everythingstmaarten.com and subscribe free to St. Maarten Weekly News. You'll see all the news that goes to all the tourists around the world, and you'll also have a chance to win.
Now, the North American visitor is our biggest visitor to St. Maarten. Europe is still lagging quite behind, and you get hits from Europe too, right?
Yes, yes. And you know, we have one of the benefits that we have a thing called JMB Website Supporters, which people pay to join. And what it offers now is right now about 215 discounts. That number is going up even further in the next couple of weeks. And you know, what we offer, one of the things we offer is low airfares, because we have a group that goes out there and searches for the best possible airfares. And the intent is we have a list of 100 cities around the world, including cities in Europe, and we list the lowest airfares that we can find in those cities as well.
And we're here speaking with him. I was telling you just before the break about that article in your newsletter on the person that had to fly back out of St. Maarten for medical reasons.
I started recommending a company called SkyMed about 12 years ago. I had heard about them. They know what they're doing. And what they do is they provide medical evacuation for American and Canadians and American and Canadian expatriates living here. And it's something that people very often don't think about. It's not that we think we're going to live forever. It's that we think, you know, this will be a fine trip. But things happen. There was a woman, I actually had 3 people that have signed up for SkyMed through me, and 3 of them wound up getting taken back home last winter. One of them was a very simple situation. The woman had a bag of groceries. She had left one of the supermarkets here. There was one of those little blocks that go in front of your tires. She didn't notice it. Wow. And she tripped over it and went over with her groceries and broke her hip. She was a nurse. She knew immediately that she had broken her hip. And you know, nothing against the hospitals here at all, but one of the problems is you want to be home when you have a problem like that, and you also want to be with doctors and hospitals you know and that know you. And what SkyMed does is it takes people home when they become critically ill or injured while they're traveling. And if you want more information about that, you can certainly go to everythingstmaarten.com, and you can get all the details about it. But it's an extremely, extremely good program. So
anything new that's going to make it coming soon to your website?
I never know. You know, things fly in all the time. The website now has many dozens of pages. We're always putting new things in. One of the things that we're working on that I think will help a lot of people is putting in a whole section of the site that talks about what to do with kids while you're here. Okay. You know, we're coming up on February school vacation. There will be a lot of kids, and I want to add that to the site. We've been thinking about that for a while and putting things together for it.
Well, Mr. Berger, I want to thank you for coming and being my guest.
Thank you.
And I hope I can have you back sometime on the live show.
Absolutely.
All right?
I would like
Thanks
that.
a lot. Much success.
Thank you.
That's it for now. See you next time. Until then, good night. Bye.